election. However, speaking after meeting with the registrar, that is yesterday, the spokesperson of the movement, that is Karoli Omondi, said the discussions had been positive and that the movement was confident the matter will be resolved. What is the alternative platform? Well, Omondi maintained that once the name is approved, the movement will move swiftly to complete the remaining legal requirements, including opening county offices and establishing party structures within the statutory timeline. So Omondi also remained confident that the movement registration will not be rejected again. Says, yes, we will get our name back, he insisted. Linda Mwananchi emerged as a breakaway political movement after internal disagreements with the Orange Democratic Movement, particularly over the party's cooperation with President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza administration under the broad-based arrangement. The movement has since been spearheaded by Senator Sifuna, who has positioned it as an alternative political platform advocating for accountability, good governance, economic justice, and addressing the high cost of living. Its formation also followed Sifuna's removal as a ODM Secretary General and the Senate Deputy Minority Whip amid leadership changes within the party after the death of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who was also the ODM party leader. Right, in recent months, the movement expanded its footprint through a series of rallies and grassroots mobilization campaign across the several counties, particularly in Western Kenya, as it seeks to build a national political base ahead of the 2027 general election. And of course, they also will be traveling to Homa Bay County on the 16th of this month for a rally. And of course, that particular rally has also elicited a debate. And of course, a little bit of chaos and tension in that particular region. Yesterday, the Linda Mwananchi and the purported Linda Grounder team supporters did clash yesterday in Homa Bay town, forcing the police to come out and quell that particular tension that led to the arrest of several individuals in that particular region ahead of the visit in the area. Now, the supporters of the Linda Mwananchi in Homa Bay are saying, if you do not protect us, and that is directed to the police officers and security agencies, we will find a way of protecting ourselves from the individuals who want to cause chaos and disrupt our meetings on the 16th of August, this, of course, coming weeks. Right? Another story that has been given priority on the People Daily. Let's take a look at a story on page 3. And this has to do with what was happening in the country as far as political rhetoric is concerned, that seems to be driving the country to the edge as far as peace and security is concerned ahead of the 2027 general election. Foot in mouth, a worrying common affliction among Kenya's political class, Samuel Kariuki writes and says, a week ago, Health CS Aden Duale stirred public anger after allegedly referring to Kikuyus as hyenas while addressing a gathering in Mandera using his native Somali language. The CS told of his accusers who linked Duale's anger to the loss of government suffered in Olkalau by-election after mounting a multi-million shilling campaign, saying he was misquoted and even vowed not to honor summons from NCIC. He says it is a figurative expression. The Somali statement about hyena, about the difficult of ending entrenched habits of or long enjoyed advantage. It was never directed at any community or intended to demean anyone, he said in his defense on social media. Now, the former CS Moses Kuria would have contributed to the painful loss for the Democratic Alliance in Olkalau after slurring the DCP candidate and dismissing him as a chokora. Kuria's reference gave DCP an impetus to intensify its campaign for Kamau, even conducting fundraisers to buy their chokora suits and pay for his haircut. Instead of delegitimizing the new MP, the insult became a rallying call for his supporters. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku is currently having a moment of controversial popularity with his calls to split the mountain to east and west. According to Ruku, the east comprising Embu, Tharaka and Meru communities should now chart a different political path from the west, whose bigger population is the original Kikuyu tribe. The CS has castigated the west for failing to reciprocate their support for the east at a time when their son Kithure Kindiki is occupying the second highest office. Right. Other leaders in the spotlight include CS Kipchumba Murkomen, who claimed that during the Matatu strike in May, public service vehicle operators were unfairly targeting President William Ruto. And this is what we are calling foot in mouth, a worrying common affliction among Kenya's political class. Unrelenting message. Well, according to Murkomen, the PSV operators did not go on strike during the era of former President Uhuru Kenyatta, even when fuel prices did skyrocket. Dadaab MP Farah Maalim asked Kenyans after he was captured in a viral clip claiming many of the youth who participated in the 2024 anti-government Gen Z-led protests were from one community. He termed the June 25th protest as an attempted coup by children raised with ill-gotten wealth and dropped in town to take over parliament and state house. All right? That is what he said, and this is what the newspapers are reporting, that a certain trend we have witnessed in the political class as far as these rhetorics are concerned that could actually plunge the country into a worrying state at this particular moment. Also on page 3, we have toxic tongues make a comeback ahead of the 2027 general election, highlighting this particular issue. And of course, looking at the height of the 2005 Kenyan Constitution referendum, former Kibwezi MP Kalembe Ndile, who was a staunch supporter of the banana camp, famously warned his fellow politicians about reckless remarks. He will make what turned out to be a widely used political proverb in Kenya to describe politicians whose loose tongues cost their camps critical support. Some leaders open their mouths and 10,000 votes fly away. That is what he stated. The words may have outlived the legislator who died in 2021, but toxic political rhetoric continues to be the order of the day, setting a dangerous discourse for the parties and the Kenyan community at large. Coincidentally, the majority of the leaders resort to using their native languages when spewing hate speech and sometimes using figurative language. Most recently, Mukurweini MP John Kagushia has joined a long list of politicians whose loose tongues have uttered reckless and inflammatory statements, words that are likely to become major liabilities for their respective political factions. Kagushia had a dramatic night on Sunday night after being hosted for a late evening TV show, of course, at a local media house, when the security agents waylaid him over incendiary remarks he made on Saturday at a public rally in Kieni. Of course, the media reported he was forced to spend the night at their premises to avoid being arrested, but he was eventually nabbed on Monday morning. A viral video showed the MP in a political rally issuing threats to those in his constituency who will vote for President William Ruto and his allies. Now, in statements spoken in Kikuyu language, the MP said they will track any such persons even under their bed and keep a record of those that are supporting him. Political mileage, well, they say if you support Kasongo, you should be bereaved. We will not support you. We will not receive the goods when you come to pay dowry. You will... Oh, if you support Kasongo, should you be bereaved? We will not support you. We will not receive the goods when you come to pay dowry. You will take them to Sugoi. That is what he told them. Kagushia is among the leaders of the inner circle of DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua, whose opponents have continued to lash over him, right? That is what they're looking at, whereby you're saying that toxic tongues seem to have made a comeback in the political scene. Now, says such provocative words are not a preserve for the opposition, but also a norm among pro-government politicians too. And what appears as politicians discovering that in the era of live streams, viral clips and social media algorithms, a short controversial remark uttered in anger or excitement can effortlessly push popularity to high levels. Now, for both the new and the veteran politicians, popularity, whether positive or negative, gives them political mileage, as it will trigger self-advertisement on social media and, of course, on mainstream platforms. This is what the paper is reporting, that we seem to be back when it comes to matters toxic tongues that could actually plunge the country into a chaotic scene. This is what the paper is looking at, and of course highlighting some of these particular leaders. So what are these institutions that are mandated to making sure that we don't get to witness what we witnessed in 2007 are doing? Yet, even when politicians make inflammatory remarks, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission hardly takes decisive action against the culprits to deter further utterances that could spur animosity among Kenyans. Now, political analysts say that Kenya is on the wrong trajectory over the highly polarized political environment being created consciously by both elected and high-ranking government officials. He argues that supporters across the political divide are already consuming information selectively, as opponents exploit every verbal misstep to reinforce existing stereotypes. Now, government leaders are portrayed as arrogant. Opposition figures are portrayed as reckless. A single unfortunate remark becomes evidence, confirming already established political narratives. That is what we are pointing out here on this particular newspaper in this morning. We're also looking at Ruto's permanent campaign choking governance targets. Of course, this is a story that is highlighted on page 4 of the People Daily. What are we looking at? We're looking at this is the story that was the headline on PD. With 1 year remaining until the August 10th, 2027 general election, Kenya is already in full campaign mode. President William Ruto, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, and their cabinet secretaries have intensified political tours nationwide, defending the administration's record while aggressively courting voters for a second term. A story that has been highlighted by Ruben Wambingo. Of course, this is the top story on the People Daily. Let's take a look at what the Daily Nation is reporting this particular morning. Top story on the Daily Nation. Of course, looking, okay, we get that. Yes, why Uhuru's Azimio plan faces resistance. This is the top story on the Daily Nation. Strategy. Kenyatta on Monday chaired a meeting that resolved to expand the coalition's membership. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta's concerted push to revive the Azimio coalition has triggered an implosion and rebellion within the wider opposition, with critics alleging a scheme to install Kalonzo Musyoka as its presidential flag bearer. A story on our page 4. And of course, different faces here. Rigathi Gachagua says, don't imagine an endorsement from us. We are struggling day and night mobilizing the public. Kalonzo Musyoka says, we continue our engagement, strengthening the unity of the opposition to deliver the Kenya that our people deserve. And Jeremiah Kioni says, they removed me from Azimio meetings because of my support for Fred Matiang'i. And Godfrey Osoti says, our focus now is to promote Linda Mwananchi and have our candidate formally declare his presidential bid. This is the top story on the Daily Nation. We'll scroll down a little bit and see what other thing has been highlighted on the Daily Nation. Yes, county's health crisis deepens as striking medics dig in. This was yesterday in Uasin Gishu County. Of course, the Uasin Gishu County health workers demonstrate outside the county assembly premises in Eldoret yesterday, demanding implementation of a collective bargaining agreement and promotions, among other grievances. Inside Mchele Queen's 2-year reign of terror, a story that is on page 3 of the Daily Nation. Let's take a look at the Standard. The Standard is talking about another kill. Yes, another killing. Eric Otieno left home to earn a living but never made it back alive. The 19-year-old boda rider was arrested over what his family says was a minor traffic offense. Days later, they collected him from police custody, battered in pain and struggling to stand. He died soon afterwards. A post-mortem found he had suffered fatal internal injuries caused by blunt force trauma, making him the latest face of the country's mounting allegations of police brutality, death in custody. A story that has been highlighted on page 6 of the Standard. All right. Time to make sense of the state of affairs in the country and the region. Joining me for this conversation this particular morning is Maina Karubia, who is the Yala Member of Parliament. Of course, joining us here on the program to assess what the real state of the nation and the state of the region is from his perspective, and whether we are making the right moves when it comes to leading this particular nation forward. Good morning. Hi.
Hi, Brian. It has been long since I was on set.
Yeah, really.
But I'm very happy and proud to be back.
Yeah.
I like K24 because the conversations are very objective.
Thank you so much.
And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Why did you take a very, why has it been long before you came back on?
Yeah, because we have had quite a busy period as East Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the chair of the Regional Committee on Regional Affairs and Conflict Resolution.
Mm-hmm.
That means I've been the deputy head of election observation missions in Uganda and Tanzania. And of course, the coming up of the Federal Republic of Somalia to the to the East African community. So there have been a raft of activities that have been undertaken as a member of parliament and also as a chair of a standing committee. Okay. So of course, there are quite activities that we have been doing, but I'm happy to be back.
Thank you so much for coming back, and we hope to do this more and more.
Yes.
You say you've been, moving across the region. Let me get your assessment. What is the state of the region as far as maybe elections are concerned? Even as we prepare ours, what have you witnessed in Uganda, in Tanzania, even that they've done that we could be doing at this particular moment as we prepare ourselves for 2027?
Yeah, what I observed is that elections, the common citizen or the citizen is quite informed of what is happening in terms of election and in terms of democracy, the trajectory that the democracy should move. That calls for, you see, the reason as to why people also fight is because they are aware that maybe their rights are being taken away. So, of course, that resistance creates a recipe of chaos. So security agencies must at all times be ahead of time, be able to predict and be able to manage situations not to occur. So my observation from the scenario in Uganda and United Republic of Tanzania was that the security agencies were, they knew their assignment and they were able to protect the sanctity of the election and also protect properties and lives. Okay. So for me, my takeaway homes is that the security agencies must be ahead of time. They must be proactive in terms of managing the situation, the election situation. Of course, elections are quite competitive. Even in countries that ordinarily you might think they are not democratic enough, people are quite active. In any competition, people give their best. So, given the history of a very competitive and aggressive campaign and election cycle in Kenya, all hands must be on deck. The media, give the right information, give the right news, don't perpetuate an agenda. The security agencies, the same. Politicians must guard their tongues, must be careful not to sponsor things that would ordinarily affect our country. I always say that election is actually, it takes place on a specific day. Like we know the date of election, the time that it is going to close, and they announce the date that those elections will be announced. Okay. But during that, before that day comes, there will be a whole year or a whole period of campaigns and other activities. Let us use that period productively to sell our manifestos, sell ideas to the people, make a case of what you present to the people. Don't sponsor goons, don't sponsor chaos. Okay. Because at the end of the day, we don't have a spare country. We don't have, you cannot copy paste another country. So for me, I would really urge politicians, the media, the security agencies, let's be ahead of time. Let us be patriotic. I found a very unique situation in Tanzania. Of course, they had their difficult moments. But during that period, and I'm not saying that you do the same as media, but it's something that you can take. During that period when people are not understanding what is happening, the media was playing patriotic songs. But you find in our country it becomes a different thing. Okay. They actually air in where there are chaos. So it becomes an incitement to another calm area. So for me, it's something that I saw as a unique thing that maybe we can take home because we have to protect this country. Right. Brian, tomorrow, an election can happen today. Where are you going to report tomorrow? If there is no country. Okay. Yeah. I get Thank you.
Good that you mentioned the state of elections across the region, but now we are a year to the next general election. However, when you look around, we seem to have gotten into the campaign mode already. Yes. When you look at the state of affairs as far as the politics of this country is concerned, what do you see? Are we headed in the right direction?
Of course, we are not headed in the right direction when politicians are sponsoring goons. And by the way, I dare say that it's across the divide. And in fact, the utterances that you find, like the one we saw from the Member of Parliament from Mukroine, those kind of utterances, they are insightful, they are destroying a country, and they create unnecessary tension in the country. I think it is the onus of office bearers and people who are seeking public office to come in and to be able to control what they say in public. And I also want to urge IEBC. IEBC should be very active. They shouldn't be just managing the election in terms of providing the materials or the tools and the equipments of voting. They also need to go overboard. Any politician that incites the public should be barred from vying for elections. Yeah. So I think it's the onus of the IEBC to also run a peaceful election. You cannot run a peaceful election when the actors or some of the actors are either sponsoring goons or they are making utterances that jeopardize the security of our country. So the state of our politics is as such, but I think the public also should be able to point out people who are people who come out to destroy our country. A country is not destroyed by people who actually make utterances. A country is destroyed by people who see people making insightful utterances, harmful utterances, and they keep quiet. So it is the honors of you and I, Brian, because you're in the media, tell out these people who are making these insightful utterances.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned and say it is across the divide. Both in the government and in the opposition, we've witnessed that. Even the papers are reporting the same. But there's institutions that are mandated with, ensuring that if somebody makes a rhetoric that could actually plunge the country into chaos in the coming days, they actually summon to go explain themselves and action should be taken. We've seen the NCIC come out to summon some of these particular leaders, yet there's public disdain to some extent, if you may, and the dismissal of that particular institution that we will not appear before you. We are headed into an election, and most of the times people have referred to 2027 as if we are not careful, we could actually witness what we witnessed in 2007. When we have public defiance of summons from NCIC, from both sides of the political divide, what does that speak to us as the people and the future of the country? Should we be worried about 2027?
Yeah, of course there is need to be worried. And what I can say is that nobody is above the law. The people who are guarding that politician who is saying that he will not answer to summons, actually are government officers. You are on your own when you make incitement. You are on your own when you become extra constitutional in terms of your utterances and your doings. So nobody is above the law. NCIC should work closely with the enforcement officers. If they make certain pronouncement in terms of summons, if somebody don't answer to those summons, just go work closely with the enforcement officers, pick that person up and put them in where they are supposed to be according to the law. So for me, my projection is that nobody is above the law. However powerful that you are, however mighty that you think you are. In terms of incitements, I will never be partisan because we have a country to protect. My brother, we are of the same age group. The people who are making some of these incitements, they are not. They will not be here in the next 40, 30 years. And I'm not praying that they pass on, but that is the reality. Yeah? When you look at the career projection of some of these people, they may not be active in the next 10 years. So we will be inheriting that country. So we must be there to protect and guard our country. Anything that jeopardizes the peace of our country is a complete no. But I like the proactivity of some of our senior leaders, of course, because they are coming out to defy the people who are, or they are coming out to tell out some of these people who are making these insightful insightful statements. So that's my projection, comparing notes with what I saw at the regional level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get your perspective on what role we should play as youth, because you say it is a country that you're going to inherit.
Yes.
We are heading into an election. What role do we get to play as the young people, or what role do the young people get to play when it comes to guiding this particular country, even when it comes to electing their leaders and just sieving through to understand which kind of leader we actually do deserve?
Yeah, of course, the young people have been, they appear to have the, what would you call it? A template of the kind of leaders they have.
Yeah.
I would really urge them on in terms of scrutinizing the kind of leaders that we have, explain to our parents also. I think we need to up our standards in terms of the kind of leaders that we want in our country. And upping our standards means when you up your standard, it means that they are kind of leaders you don't want even to listen to them because of the kind of utterances they are making. They are not bringing objective debates. They will not, when you look at them, particularly from a parliamentary point of view, they will not be able to registrate, they will not be able to represent or oversight. So I think as young people going to the election, we need to come out and do a background check on some of the leaders that are presenting themselves for the elections. Castigate the people that you think they are retrogressive in action and in utterances. Of course, support those who are objective and they are visionary in terms of the deeds and the words, in as far as how they project our country to be. Because we are the main stakeholders. I always say that 65% of our population is under that 5 years. Yeah. So that means we have a very big stake in terms of decisions that are being made in our country. And those decisions, the ballot in 2027 presents us with a direct opportunity to make a decision. A direct opportunity where now you have not delegated your power to somebody else. It's you to go and choose the kind of leader you want. So I think facing into 2027 and with this month, now that we are in the month of August, we have now got ourselves into the electioneering year. This is the time to really scrutinize the kind of leaders that we would want, right from the MCA up to the top of the president level. Yeah.
We've seen that, and he said, there is a template. Let me ask, from a regional perspective, having traversed in different parts of the country, in different parts of the region, what is the commonality when it comes to what the young people want from Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya?
Yeah, of course, what I have seen, the commonality is that citizens want something called open governance. Open governance means that there is right to information, equal opportunities for people, and of course, access to government information and government opportunities. Of course, equitable sharing of resources. These are things that I have seen that are pertinent across the region. The reason as to why people want open governance is so that we can have transparency in how public affairs are run. The reason as to why there is need for equal opportunities is so that opportunities are shared equitably. Remember, and of course the fair chance of opportunities. Remember, we have a very educated population. I dare say, you might find in a household there are people 4, 2, 3, or even 1 who has a degree. All these people, you might find there's a chance that none of these people is employed. So we have an educated family, we have an educated population, and they have limited opportunities. So limited opportunity means there is a lot of pressure, first of all, in a capitalistic environment as we have in our region, and of course the demands, because you can't continue asking for money from your household, or support from your household. You have to also live on your own. So this kind of pressure needs to be sorted out by having equitable or fair opportunities, fair access to opportunities, and open governance. When you have open governance, we have an innovative public system. You'll have innovative ways of approaching the economy, and even how we how we can compete at the international level in terms of economic opportunities that are presented worldwide. So, for me, what I've seen across board is open opportunities, open governance in as far as public affairs are concerned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask, is the East African region intentional when it comes to dealing with the issues affecting the youth? Because we've seen, especially here in Kenya, we've seen an uprising when it comes to the Gen Z protests, and each and every year there's always like a fear of people taking to the streets. During the elections in Tanzania, there was that level of uncertainty whether there's going to be peace or not. In Uganda, the same, as they were heading to the election to some extent. You mention and say, okay, this is what the young people want. However, is there an intentionality from the people that hold authority to be able to look into those particular issues? How do you go about that?
Yeah, I think from my view, and I've really stepped into even the highest offices across the region. Of course, the management of East Africa community, there is still not enough done around the youth sector, because we are still the executive branch of the East African community is still focused on what you would call intergovernmental or interregional affairs, such as monetary union, political confederation, the customs union, and of course common market. We are still yet to deal with the demographic issues of the population, those kind of things, because they are still sovereign matters. When you start mentioning components of a population, it means you must step into sovereign issues, sovereign challenges, so that you offer sovereign solutions. So what we are dealing with are those 4 pillars that I've mentioned. Of course, we have sorted out the issues of common market and custom union. Right now, we are doing constitutional consultations around having a common or one government within the East African community. Of course, one public system within there.
How does that work?
We are doing the constitutional consultation, just as like you see in the European Union. We still come here in East Africa. Last week we saw the news that there was a meeting of the central banks governors of East African community, that we will have a common shilling or a common currency by the year 2031. Of course, it was a push from year 2021. It was supposed to be, we were supposed to have got to have a common currency by year 2021, but now it was pushed forward to 2031.
So that is 10 years later.
Yeah, that is 10 years later. So by 2031 we will have our one currency. So these are what you'd call macro issues that we are dealing with. The micro are still at the sovereign states level. The issues of youth and those kind of challenges. But that is not to be blind to it. I met the President Museveni early this year, and he was giving me, or he was giving us a story around the Gen Z protests that were happening in their country. And he was saying that it was an imported protest from Kenya.
Was it imported though?
So, and he was saying that how those people who are calling themselves masters of protest from Kenya. So, what I observed is that the issue of youth, we might have the boundaries, but the ideas, the ideals, the vision of where the region must ought to be is a shared vision. The challenges that a Kenyan youth is facing here is the same challenge that Ugandan youth is facing, the same challenge that Democratic Republic of Congo youth is facing. So, and it is the onus of public bearers to either share experiences or even pilot pilot certain solution in your country, and other countries can try learn from the solutions that you are making.
Okay.
Yeah.
What has been the stumbling block, especially when it comes to the regional integration? You say by 2021 we're supposed to be having a common currency. It has been pushed 10 years later to 2031. How can we be guaranteed that in 2031 we will have a common currency?
Of course, there are some requirements that needs to be met, macroeconomic convergence issues that were not met by 2021. Even to date, according to the admission of the central bank governors, they are yet to be met up to date. So I really would urge our monetary institutions to really fast track the convergence of these macroeconomics of our countries in terms of payment systems, in terms of IT infrastructure, in terms of risk management, in terms of exchange rates. These are some of the macroeconomic issues that needs to be met or need to be sorted out before we get into the a common currency harmonization of our common currencies. So for me, those macroeconomic issues that are some of the things that have made the postponement of a common currency within the East African community. So, but now the proactivity and the body language that I saw last week is something that we can write home about. Yeah.
When we look at these issues, is it because most of the time we say even integration when it comes to matters business, sometimes we look at the issues to do with the non-tariff barriers and you're like, okay, these are some of the issues affecting the region. We are unable to do business together. Yes. How do member states come together and address these particular issues for common integration in just the regional stability and progress?
Of course, the meeting point in this point is the East African community. Of course, they are the ones that will, for lack of a better word, mobilize countries towards reducing of these non-tariff barriers. And of course, bringing state actors to an agreement of removing these non-state barriers. So the nerve center of cross-border trade, the nerve center of cross-border activities, relations, is the East African community. And that's why I'm very happy by the speed at which the Federal Republic of Somalia is moving in terms of, they just deposited the instrument of accession last year. They are now fast-tracking the trade instruments. I'm very happy with the speed at which they are moving. For me, or how I look at it, the East African community must be seen as a body that is coordinating and running how states operate. Sometimes you find countries, they move on their own. Like you saw, I think earlier this year, the Republic of Kenya had a state-to-state level with the United Republic of Tanzania. That is a state-to-state level. East Africa community was a third party in such a meeting. I think in future, such relations, so that we make progress, so that we can be able to be counter-checking each other. We need to involve East African more in terms of management of state relations. Otherwise, the lack of
are they being left behind
of their presence
most of the time?
Sometimes will lead to uncoordinated foreign policy at the international level. And that's why you'll find maybe Kenya has a certain interest at the international level. Lack of that coordination at the regional level, it fails. Because you're not coordinating, you're not involving a third party that ordinarily would make sure that interests of both countries are put into consideration. So for me, I'm looking at, if you are to look at East African community, if you are to look even at the AU, the African Union, we need to be using these regional and intergovernmental organizations as anchor organizations to manage our relations as countries. Otherwise, at the international level, you'll be bidding for certain positions or certain interests, and you're beaten hands down. Yeah, like we saw with our candidature with the Maritime, like we saw with our candidature at the African Union. Yeah.
For me,
if it is driven at the East African level, we will be able to leverage more than when we are moving as individual states.
Okay.
Yeah. However much we might think we have better relations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Maina Karobia, 30 seconds for your final remarks on this conversation here. And your final remarks, I think, we'll touch on. I can't fail to ask you. There is a call to split the mountain. You come from that particular region. How do you go about that?
There's no splitting of the mountain. The mountain is one. The mountain is one. We fought for independence together. Our political association is still one. Mm-hmm. And as somebody who is a beneficiary of the mountain solidarity, I will never be involved in any conversation mm-hmm. to divide any county mm-hmm. or to divide any part of the mountain. Mm-hmm. Any person who is, and I have been a crusader of ensuring that our mountain is one. For me, any person who is involving in the conversation of dividing the mountain is a self-defeating person. Mm-hmm. When you go to power sharing at the national level, you realize the big men will always ask, what are you bringing on the table? Okay. You cannot bring on the table a divided region. Mm-hmm. Any presidential candidate will ask you, Brian, you come from Mount Kenya region. Don't come and tell me you're bringing Mount Kenya East. That big person wants to hear, mm-hmm. or the presidential candidate wants to hear, how much can you consolidate? Mm-hmm. And I dare say, you better have 40% of the larger Mount Kenya voting for you mm-hmm. than 100% of Mount Kenya East voting for you. Okay. Yeah. You better have a 40%. 40% of the larger Mount Kenya region voting you mm-hmm. than having 100% of Mount Kenya East. Okay. Because a member of parliament, an MCA in Thika Town constituency mm-hmm. is of political value to a presidential candidate mm-hmm. than a member of parliament in Beren North. Why do you say that? That's how serious it is. An MCA of Thika constituency in Thika Town is of more political value than a member of parliament of Beren North, because the registered voters of a ward in Thika Town called Kameno is 58,000 mm-hmm. registered voters. Then Beren North, total registered voters are 54,000. Okay. So that is the difference. All right. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, Maina Karovia, for your time here, Yala Member of Parliament, for your time here on the program, and coming to help us make sense of exactly what the state of affairs in the country and, of course, the region is. We'll do this again, of course, very soon. Up next is Politalks. We'll be speaking to nominated Member of Parliament, Sabina Chege, in just but a few.
Our vibe, our music, our stars, all on one channel.
The world is mine, near get back. Don't mess with my stack, the gauge is right.
From trending shows to the hottest hits, K24TV is our home for non-stop entertainment.
What if when me say step out, me did I step back?
Catch the energy, live the fun, and join the rhythm. Turn up the volume on the new K24TV. K24TV is your home for non-stop entertainment. K24TV.
Ambia beshte yako ruka K24.
Our shared sherehe. Our shared experience.
Some talk about them sing like the one cockatoo, and the one we sell a shopper couldn't be. Some talk about them sing like the one cockatoo, and the one we sell a shopper couldn't be. Cause this a tea to act to anger, I may not have no time to idle. This a tea to act to anger, I may not mix in a dirty.
K24TV, our shared experience.
The living God. I am Evangelist Lucy Wagojiri from K24TV. I am coming to you with a new program, Moments of Grace and Hope for our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, when evil escalates, when pain is within us, when we don't know what to do next, what do we do? And the answer is one, ladies and gentlemen. To get the nation back on her feet, we must get down on our knees. 2 Chronicles 7:14. And God will never let Kenya go.
K24 TV, our shared experience.
In an age of fleeting headlines, depth matters. PeopleDaily.digital carries forward a legacy of genuine journalism. We bring in not just the news, but the context, the analysis, and the stories that shape our nation, for reporting that digs deeper and informs better. Why wait for fun? K24.digital brings you 24/7 entertainment. From the pitch to the playlist, from celebrity gossip to the memes you love. We're not just news, we're your non-stop ticket to everything cool and trending. So get in the know. K24.digital. Follow the buzz 247.
And this is Politalks. Welcome to the second hour of this particular show, where we try to make sense of what is happening in the country as far as the state of affairs is concerned. Our topic today, we're looking at politics, leadership, and the journey to 2027. What is happening at this particular moment that is leading us to 2027? Are we doing the right thing as far as the preparation for the general election is concerned? And just a state of security here in the country, what is the political language that we are using that will actually be preparing us for 2027, either in a good way or in a bad way? So, to help us make sense of this conversation this particular morning, we're speaking to nominated Member of Parliament and former Muranga woman representative, that is Honorable Sabina Chega. Good morning. I'm good. Thank you so much for making time. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you
I hope
so much.
it was easy for you to come here today. Most of the time when I invite guests, they always say, oh, it's an issue with traffic. Then we ask ourselves whether Nairobi is working or not.
No, it was a good morning. I think the route I passed was super. I got here on time, and I've managed to grab a cup of coffee.
Nice.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
When we invite guests who arrive on time, we are always thankful to that.
Thank you.
All right. Let me just begin with your general assessment of the current situation in the country. And when you look at it from a political perspective, Honorable Sabina, what would you say is the state of the nation currently right now?
I'll say not very good. Not what I would want to see or hear. Because I've been in this politics now, active politics. This might be my 14th, 15th year. Because I am now a third member of parliament. You know, sometimes when I'm called nominated, people would just think I am new in politics. And I've been elected, as you rightly put it, as a woman rep for Muranga County twice. 2022, I was at the middle of the national politics. I was with the Azimio party. I actually go to a position of becoming the deputy president.
Yeah, you are being considered for that, running
yes,
it, yeah.
for Baba, but give it to Mother Karua. She's the one who got the position. And I was also privileged to sit at the Azimio Council at that point. I was also privileged to visit various parts of the country. So I was able to move out of the regional or tribal cocoon to a national level, and I was able to also get the exposure of what happens to the rest of Kenya. Because sometimes we are blinded by what is happening on our background, our constituencies, our regions, and then we don't see the bigger picture. And so my politics and my political view changed from the time I joined Azimio. I am now much more objective. I am much more looking at the bigger picture for Kenya, not for a region. And it's sad to see that there is a group of politicians who have come in and want to drag us back to where we came from.
Okay.
Give it up to Uhuru Kenyatta when he came in at 2012-2013, when they joined hands with William Ruto, then and now His Excellency the President. He tried to, from 2007, what had happened. There was a lot of bruises, there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of wounds that were not healed. I witnessed the first time I went to Eldoret. That was 2013, just before the elections, when Uhuru Kenyatta came together with William Ruto, and there was a big rally in Eldoret. I saw men and women crying. It was very emotional. Because there were some Kikuyus who had left Eldoret, who had never come back from 2007. And they met with neighbors that they had fought before, and you could see the regret. Like, why did we have to fight? And people are crying. Actually, by the time Uhuru Kenyatta is now the presidential candidate, stepped on the dais, people started falling. There was like something that happened. People were emotional, people were crying. He did not even address people. Within 2-3 minutes, people were fainting, people were crying. It became very emotional. And the rally ended. From there, we all did a round to Eldoret town. And there were many people, thousands of people who had come there. And you could see the spirit of reconciliation. And you could see people who are sorry for what they did to each other as brothers and sisters. Because somebody somewhere, or we as politicians, came and made them fight. Somebody was your neighbor where you could go and get milk from. You went and killed the son when they could see, or you went and killed the wife, or you killed the husband, or you actually even burnt his house. And so meeting this person again, like, are you still the one? What became of us? And I saw that reconciliation coming in. And so from 2013, again 2017, we also still had Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto coming in, and we had now the rest of people in the country. Everybody else was coming in, and I remember when Handshake came 2018, a lot of us were very upset with Uhuru Kenyatta, and were like, how would you even, this guy you told us is a madman, and from some of us from the background we come from, we were made to believe that Raila was a very bad man, or the Luos are very bad people. But we didn't know why. It was just brainwashing from the politicians. And so when Uhuru said he has done the handshake with Raila Amolo Odinga, the late, and may he rest in peace, was my very good friend. And he has come in not for political gain, but for the purpose of peace and reconciliation of this nation. We were like, come to think of it, what is Uhuru trying to say? And you remember he brought in the BBI, and people are not very happy with Uhuru. And so what happened, a lot of people from even my region decided to leave, and they were very upset. And they were not happy with Uhuru coming in. And actually most of the people, when they went back to the ground, they incited our people against Baba. And they said, Uhuru now, he has come in, and I think that was also part of what influence came in for the separation between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. So, and then we saw this moving up towards 2022. But I thank God, by the time we were getting to 2022, I could easily do a rally in Murang'a with Baba. And I would tell people, come touch him. You have been told he eats people. I am here. I'm alive. I have not been eaten. He's a normal human being. And if you met Baba one-on-one, he was the easiest, a father figure, a politician who had also a lot of charisma, and a person, Baba could tell you stories, and he could make you now understand where he came from. And so by 2022, we got a good number of the people from the mountain voting for Baba. Over 1 million votes. That was not an easy task, for just people from the mountain, that they actually woke up in the morning and they went and voted for Baba. But what was the beauty of it? No one was victimized. I didn't see anyone being told, if you support Azimio, if you're in Jubilee and you're not in this party, then you have become an outcast. You know, I saw people practicing democracy, and they were independent to make a choice. And we even got many people who then initially were in ODM coming in and speaking to the people, and everybody was given their space. But then after that, what happened after 2022? Well, we got the new government that came in power. But the first thing, when Uhuru Kenyatta handed over power, with very, very humble, he went to Kasarani, he finished well, and he left the new team to now go to State House and proceed. We saw one character who, even shamelessly, when we had visitors, international visitors, he's the one who started saying, you know what, we have even gotten to this place with empty coffers. Even the rats have run away. You know, there are things you can do when there's the international guest, or when you are that level. You know, when you have gotten the win, you accept the winning, you know, that win with humility. Yeah. And I understand he had even been given a speech which he ignored to read. So and decided this is the time to...
Whatever was presented was totally different
yes,
from what was supposed.
It was from his mouth, and he did that because he wanted to fight. And you see what happened after that? We saw Uhuru Kenyatta's farm being, you know, raided. And of course, then there was this then intimidation of leaders who were elected together from the same side. So by the time the impeachment came in Parliament, personally, I didn't understand it. And I actually had told people, I spoke personally to the president. I spoke to several members who are from the UDA party. Remember us who were in Azimio. But then people came and told me, Sabina, you don't know the kind of character you're dealing with. And then there was the intimidation after intimidation. It started with Dende Nyoro. I don't know, you want to become the deputy president 2027. Dende was just a young man, a very young, ambitious man. Why would you fight such a young man? And he has a right for his ambitions. But you, as a sitting deputy president, why would you be worried about those small, you know, members of parliament who are ambitious and who are growing up? And so this came into the impeachment that happened. There are many stories that are told about impeachment, which I don't want to dwell on that. But I can tell you, if today the decision was to be made again, I would say I would still vote for him to go. Why?
You vote for his impeachment?
Why? Yes, I did. But I was convinced then, not fully convinced. But now, after the All Karau win, you have seen how this guy has behaved. You have seen his lieutenants and his foot soldiers, what they have been talking. You see, we have gotten to a level. I went to All Karau. I was there for more than a month. I interacted with these people. I had tea. I have friends, even today I have them on my phone. But 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before, there used to be meetings that were happening in a certain politician's home. But we didn't know that when these people went there was almost oath-taking. And there were threats and intimidations. But I remember the last Sunday when I went to a church in a
What is this oath-taking like?
You know, when you are called or invited in someone's house, and then you're told this is the way to go. If you don't, you are almost made to make a vow, or you know. And after that, like I met a lady on Sunday. The last Sunday, I went to a full gospel church in a place called Kaga. And one of the lady, an elderly lady called me and said, you know, you are a woman like me, I want to tell you something. As our husbands were called, and we were given ultimatum, and we have been told we have been marked, and our homes have been marked. If the government wins, we will not stay here. I have been here for long. This is where I was born. This is where I've lived. This is me. And she even told me, her place, they have not had water. And she said, the only borehole that we had that was supposed to come to the community, an individual who was threatening them, the borehole was done in his compound. And the compound was fenced. That individual has 2 boreholes that he doesn't share with the community. The only natural source of water from that village, it is in his compound. He has also fenced. So that lady was going very far to fetch water. And she said, when the government have come, we now have our borehole, which was done, and now we are waiting for the piping to be done. I have to support the government. But now, Sabina, I am worried about my life. I am an old lady. I have been threatened. And truly, there were young men who had bought machetes, they had bought rungus. And the worst part of it is that the people who are intimidating changed the story. You know, when you know what you're planning, then you come out and say, tunapangiwa. And they used reverse psychology. And people believed. But I thank God because what they did in All Karau, the intimidation, the threats, I can tell you today.
You say the voters in All Karau were threatened and intimidated.
Yes, and even today there are voters who have never gone back to their homes. even after the loss. I can tell you today, there are voters who have never gone back to their homes. There are polling stations that people have not gone. You saw even some of the people who are aspirants, even after the win, the way they were talking and intimidating. There was an elected MCA who was trying to console a family where somebody was killed. And the killing was very mysterious also. But you know, it was blamed on one side. And that MCA was trying to, he was stopped. He was told, do not. And you saw the kind of men who are telling him, please don't, because he was part of the government and he was campaigning for the government. He was told, you are a betrayer. You are an outcast. You cannot come here. I don't know, you have to publicly come and apologize for supporting the government. Why should I apologize for the position I have decided to take? You know, we have a free nation. I should be allowed to take my position. And you see what happened? Then after that, what Kawushe was trying to do was now to spread the same thing. Being told, if you are going to support the government, if you are not going to support specific political party. And please note, in Mount Kenya region, we have several political parties. But they were told, if you do not specifically support this political party, then you are an outcast. Then they were told, we are going to mark your doors. They were told, if there is a funeral in your home, we will not come. They were told, if there is dowry, take that dowry to Sugoi. So surely, what kind of a nation are we in? But now what happened yesterday, you also saw Honorable Munya coming out, Lenny Kivuti coming out, JB Muturi coming out. Thank God, this Ol Karau has made people, we see their true character, they are big-headed. And so now, even Muturi and Munya and Lenny Kivuti, who belong to a similar political side, because, you know, the opposition, or the so-called, I don't want to call it united, I think it is disunited opposition, where they are now, they had one agenda. The agenda was what? Kasongo must go. That was the agenda. Now the agenda, because that was the only agenda, they did not have any common goal on what they want to do for Kenyans. You know, I like Oburu Odinga, because Oburu summarized it, they just said, tunataka power. And he was true to himself, tunataka power, that's what he said. So these people, instead of telling Kenyans tunataka power, so they were just saying Kasongo must go, but they don't have an agenda for Kenyans. So they want Kasongo to go so that they take power. But then what do you do with the power? And that's why you saw JB Muturi and the team coming out and saying, hey, we are also in this opposition, but don't dictate to us that we must all belong to one political party. Because even we can be, all of us, even the fingers of our hands are different sizes. Even the shoe sizes, we don't all wear the same size of a shoe. You should allow people to practice their democratic right. If I have a political party, allow me to be, and anybody who wants to be Sabina's political party, allow them to come in. Don't demonize that you are the only angel. And so any other political party, it is a Gakonia, I don't know those names, they say it is wheelbarrow painted in red, that was Jubilee. I don't know, it is wheelbarrow painted in purple. But we should allow our Kenyans, and especially the political parties, to exercise their democratic right. And that's why I think from, 1992, 2002, when we had Mold Party, our constitution changed. And so we have a democratic right for everybody to have, but don't force people. We are going back almost to the time when we had Mungiki.
All right.
When you know what happened that time, that people were marked, that people were even killed. That means you are telling our people, so if you're not following this person, then you are an outcast. Then have we become cultic? So, are we forming a cult in Mount Kenya region?
You interact with people on the ground. What is the fears of the people of Mount Kenya, or what is their concern as far as this direction is concerned to some extent?
I want to take the blame first on the people who are on the government side, because I think what happened is after the impeachment, you remember the Gen Z, there was a lot of intimidation for the leaders. So there are some leaders who developed cold feet and were afraid even to go to the ground. You know, I've said I've been in politics for long. So me, if I go and I address people and then they shout back at me, I don't feel bad. It is your own opinion, then please listen to my own opinion, and I'll talk and sit down. But there are leaders who will not have they cannot be able to hold that. They feel like it's a shame. But I just want to say, anybody elected, or even there are many aspirants who want to be elected now, the people who clap for you, tomorrow they are the ones who will shout you down. They are the ones who tell you sit. And they're the people who are even singing and even carrying you with their own hands and dancing for you. So the intimidation that came in after the Gen Z 2024, then the impeachment, all these things that happened, there was a lot of bad blood that came in between the people. The people became just upset because you ask them, what is the problem? They cannot really say what it is. Fine, then you say Kasongo must go, and then? So what's the solution? So you find some people are very upset because the leaders and the people they are interacting with are the only ones who are citing them against the government. The ones who are on the government side. And I would also say the blame also goes to the PSS and the ministers. They are not able, they are big, beautiful programs that are happening back at the background. I will tell you, like on Friday, I'll be in my village. We are going to launch a milk cooler that has been given to one of our cooperatives by the Ministry of Agriculture. The president bought for them a truck to carry the milk and a pasteurizer. So we're going to have a big celebration. But you see, if this thing is not openly told by the people, this is the president, and only the few people maybe who are the members of that cooperative know, then if you ask somebody from my own village called Kenyona village, they will tell you the president have done nothing. They will tell you the president have done nothing, and the Mau roads, now the tarmac is at our home area. You see? Then they will, the opposition will say, so why now? Why not now? If it's tarmac, the tarmac has come. If it's the market, there's of course the timing, and you remember after 2024, the finance bill, there are many things that the government had to delay because there was no budgeting. And I think, you know, it is easier when you're outside the government or you're not the person in charge, saying this can be done very easily. But once you get into in position, you must know there's budgeting. They told you now, the way you are going is not good. Told you now, the way you are going is not good. We cannot say it's our time to eat, we must first deliver. Then you get upset. Others expected maybe to be given positions that were not given because you cannot be able to reward everyone. So immediately these people becomes your enemies. And I'm telling you, not only at the presidential level, even as an MP, there are many people who campaign for you. Others will maybe expect, once you become an MP, you will employ their children. How many children can you employ? How many children can you connect to job? But you can create an opportunity, might be. But for how many? So there are people who will take it personally. Sisi tulikufanyia campaign, alafu ukaenda, hujatusaidia. When you do something for the community, you say, I may not be able to do everything, like to touch everybody's home. I'll not be able to visit everybody's home and buy sugar or go come and say thank you, but I can do a project in the community that is going to benefit everybody. So come 2027, I am hoping our people will not go to vote to chase away somebody. For instance, All Karau. On 16, they were told, wake up very early in the morning, go chase Kasongo out. That is what they were told. So they did not wake up to go and elect a suitable candidate who would work for them or who would bring development. It was not about who was a better candidate or not. But their waking up in the morning was go and chase who? And also go and protect yourself, because if Kasongo person wins, then we have marked you, you will go. So there was fear. But how do you go and vote to chase away somebody? Instead of going to vote for a person whom you know, you believe in his ideas or ideals, you have read his manifesto, you have actually looked at the background of that person, and you think this person can take Kenya, or can take my county, or can take my constituency, or can take my ward to the next level. And I hope we can change the conversation. The media houses, you have a lot of work to do about educating people, civic education. You will get a woman rep candidate saying the things she's going to do, and those things totally are not on her mandate. But people will clap and believe she's going to do it. But you ask what is the role of a woman rep, they don't know. You will find the governors...
Who has placed that particular expectation on this, on the political class and politicians to be able to promise things that are not even the constitution and their responsibility?
Because there's something that happens. There is what people want to hear. You know, if I just want to be elected, I would run to that party that is now popular in Mount Kenya, and I would just say one tap, and I would be elected. I will not sweat. Once I'll tell them, I even told you not to vote for this government, and then it will going to be easy. But really, is it what I want to do? But when you start talking facts, telling people serious things, people don't want to listen to those things. Look at the characters. I don't want to name anyone. Of the people who are very popular on TikTok, and you know, they are good in TikTok and those things. Those are the popular candidates. The people who, they have nothing to offer. And if you look at even the whole wave that is now in Mount Kenya, and I would want independently, maybe as a media house, go do some research. Majority of the people, and don't even go to the aspirants, because aspirants, they want they are the ones, they are looking for positions, so they will look for any mode to unseat the current person. And this also happened even in 2022. Majority of good Jubilee members who had performed very well, they never left Jubilee. They stayed and vied with Jubilee. But were they elected? Very few are not were elected. So because why? People don't want to hear. You are telling them, I did this, I've done this, I'm planning to do this. They want the they want the one-term slogan. They want people who are just there, they are crazy. Lies travel faster than the truth. And I can tell you, do this. Do an analysis. Let's say, take an example, and I'm not biased to anyone. Take Kiambu County, maybe take Murang'a, and maybe take, take Nyeri, take the Mount Kenya region senators. Look at the people who have made an impact. Because you know Senate seat is very interesting. Because you kind of oversight the national government, the county government. There's the money that is taken to the counties. But then you also supposed might be to question through the Senate how that money has been used, or might be the public participation, what are the county priorities and what have been achieved by the governor. Why are we having so many governors abusing the money that is given to them? Because majority of their senators, they just wait. Even take Nairobi, just go around. They just wait for a kickback from the governor and they will never question anything that the governor does. Majority of the senators, they have not gone even to do one medical camp in their counties. Nothing. But now when you find them on the opposition, because they know if I go, people will ask me, what have you done? They have nothing to show.
So opposition politics is easy from what you're saying?
It is very easy. Opposition is the easiest because the only thing you do is to go and tell people what the others have not done. And then you mask yourself so you don't have a chance for people to ask you, and you, what have you done? And what happens to our people? When you start hammering the other person, the president has not done, people clap. Yes. Then when I'm wonder, they say, yeah. And that you see, so I am just trying to tell and caution Kenyans. As we go towards 2027, I beg with you, and I want to beg you, please, scrutinize the candidates that you're going, from the MCA all the way to the presidency. Don't be hoodwinked by movements and political parties that will come to your villages. They are coming to tell you to fukuze nani. So mukimfukuza alafu, what difference will you make? How different are you from that person unafukuza? Kwa sababu sometimes we say better the devil you know than an angel you don't know. Okay. So we must also be focused and say what are our priorities. And we start, I liked one of the things that maybe UDA did very well, or Kenya Kwanza did very well, unlike Azimio, was the economic forums they held. That they could go to county levels and ask people, what would you want? So this 2027 should not be about the politicians, what we want. It's about the people, what would you want? Even maybe before end of this year, I am hoping the president can also take it up to go back to the counties for these economic forums and ask the people, when we came, we asked you what you'd want, and genuinely say, this is what you had said you wanted. So far, 4 years down the line, this is what I have achieved. Then might be this was not possible because of this, or this is what I would want now to continue. Or people would say, this was our priority then, but we think now it is not. This is our priority. I think that is very important, where you have a people-centered, manifesto, where you have a people-centered campaign. And I also like the way I have seen the president opening State House. I saw a gentleman saying, State House was walikuwa naionea view sasa. Right. So majority of people have good.
Some people are looking at that and saying it is a campaign tool, and looking at a
what is the difference?
Controlled crowd.
What is the difference between the person who allows a Kenyan who has never been in State House to go, and also who goes and meets somebody in the market? Is the same. I have only given you a dignity and saying, come. It's like when your father has a house or an office, then invites the son to come to the office. The son is nobody happy. They will even come and sit at the seat and say, I visited Daddy's office. It is nice. It is dignifying Kenyans, because State House was only seen like it was a place for the high and mighty, for a few selected. And even the State House was not just gone, it was only maybe for the national functions. That's when a few people would receive a card. Not everybody. Not even all MPs were invited to State House even before. So a few people be given a card. It was a privilege for the high and mighty. But right now, when I see a Mama Mboga, when I see a guy from Grogon, a mechanic at State House, I feel very happy. When I see a person from my village coming, waking up early and going to State House, it is nice. But number two also, instead of the lies that has been spread across, the president will have a one-on-one with his people and say, I came to you, this is what I promised, this is what I've managed. And sometimes you demystify, and he's able to explain at a lower level, not on a political rally. Because what happens, you normally see, patia huyo microphone, 1 minute, arambe, then next. When we do this political rally, you really don't have much. It is mainly for the psyche, you know, and people being excited and everything else, but nothing much. And that's why a lot of even those things that are promised at the rooftops of vehicles, they are not honored. Okay. Because sometimes there is excitement as part of the moment. Okay. But when people are seated together,
so it is politics.
I think it's a good approach. Okay. Yes.
I want to come back to the voting pattern that you spoke about, because now you mentioned and said, okay, some good members of the Jubilee Party in 2022 were not elected. Do you believe the region back then elected leaders because they wanted to punish the Jubilee Party and President Uhuru Kenyatta, and that's why some people suffered the fate?
Yeah, because that is what they were told. They were told Uhuru is a bad person. They were told amalize aende. They were told Uhuru is a mlevi. They were told Uhuru ni wa mashati. And so anything happened, even when a man could disagree with the wife, it was blamed on Uhuru. And so anybody who was a follower of Uhuru was seen to be a bad person. That is why a lot of those people are not elected. But can you see a repeat of the same characters wearing different clothes now? They are saying what? Sasa tufukuze nyoka na watoto wake. Surely. Would you call a president of this nation nyoka? And so anybody who seems to be supporting the president or this government ni mtoto ya nyoka. This is the highest level of disrespect. And this is, I'm just saying, it's a repeat. It's just a repeat. It's a cycle that comes in. And that's why I said Kenyans need now to be very careful. This movement, I remember there was the late J.J. Kamotho. At some point when, J.J. Kamotho stuck with Moi then. And then there was a wave where we had the Kenneth Matiba and there was the opposition. When J.J. Kamotho, Moi had to even shelve a small, Kangema and Madio was split into two so that J.J. Kamotho can have his own constituency. And you see what he said, he gave a comment which was not very good. He said even if a dog would have vied, but with that specific party then in central Kenya, the dog would have been elected. It was not a matter of who. It was just about a movement. And it was just about a political party. I am hoping we move from there. That is why in the new constitution, we even have independent candidates. That means I don't have to belong to any political party. I can be an independent member because when I go to parliament, I'll also be independent. I can choose wherever I want to vote, whichever way I want to vote. We have around, I think, 12 or 13 members of parliament who are independent. That also means that we can have various political parties. And so when I come in and when I go to the village, the people should be able to ask me, hold on, Sabina, you have been there for these years, now you want to come in, so why? Why did you choose, when you are nominated by Jubilee, when you came, why did you choose to support the government? Then what do you have to offer now? From coming forward, what do you have to offer? So I should not go, I belong to this party, and people clap. And that is why our people vote to, I told you, wana vote kufukuza. They are not electing a leader, ni kufukuza mwenye yako. Okay. So they don't care, then who comes in? Provided tumefukuza, alafu tunasikia tuko na ubambe sasa, we are very happy now, we have won. But as I ask all Karao people, so after kuambiwa 16th, munafukuza Ruto is still in State House. So what happens to all Karao constituency? And that is a bigger question that people should be asking themselves. Don't vote to chase somebody away. Look at the people who are there and vote for a person you believe in. Unfortunately, I can tell you, even that political party that is now seem to be very popular in our central region or in Mount Kenya region, if people today, and I said again, I would challenge you, go do a research. If they asked, would you vote for that leader to become your president? 90% will say no. They don't believe in his leadership, but they are following him because he's helping them chase away Kasongo. And the question is, so what has Kasongo done? What has he done that is so bad that we want him to go? Okay. You see, those are the questions that we should be asking ourselves. Somebody will tell you, mimi hata sijui, lakini namchukia. Kwa nini? You know, so we just need to be true to ourselves.
Okay.
And we need to start scrutinizing. And Kenya is a great country. We have milestones that we have achieved. If you look at the affordable housing, somebody today will come and tell you SHA is not working. Okay. And somebody will come and tell you SHA is working because they followed the due process. It worked for them. Sometimes even institutions, immediately when SHA was started, some institutions were sabotaging SHA. Why? Because it was a channel for them for corruption. Okay, they were getting money. So when the checks and balances came in, then that's why today you can see a report saying a certain institution was paid this amount of money. Why? Because now there is track and trace. Okay. You can be able to know there is no woman who would be done 3 C-section per year. So the only bit that opposition picks is that there's people are stealing from SHA, but they don't tell you this was what was discovered, and then this is what is going to be done. Because law must take its course. But initially when there was NHIF, people would take millions of money. People, some hospitals had employed a department just with IDs to just be filling IDs. But now because it's a smart way, if in the system it shows Sabina was in hospital or was done an operation this month, next month, of course there are questions that are going to be raised. That is not possible. Then fraud is seen. Right. So if you talk about affordable housing, please go and talk to the people at Mukuru Kwanjenga. The people who used to have those flying toilets. The people who never thought they can have a decent home. Who are able to have access. And remember, previous government, I was in Jubilee. Almost our manifesto was the same with Kenya Kwanza because I think because William Ruto, by the fact that he was the deputy president, became the president, there's a lot that he borrowed from the previous Jubilee government. And so, affordable housing was there. We didn't see much happening, but now we can see people owning homes, people moving in. So there's something positive. There's something positive that has been done. I was in Jubilee. One of the reasons why I decided to support the government.
What is the disconnect between what you are saying and what the government normally says every now and then that has been able to be done and has been achieved, and what the people on the ground normally feel? Because if you ask some Kenyans, will be like you put it, that there's a Kenyan that will say SHA is working for me. Somebody will say, okay, SHA is not working. And they will go with that particular narrative. What is the disconnect? What are we missing here? Why
there are two things.
Uniform?
There was a lot of incitement. A lot of people will tell you SHA is not working. They are not even registered in SHA. Why? A politician came and told them SHA is not working, and they believed SHA is not working. Or somebody may have had. I remember there is a clergy who I was in a function, and he's my good friend. And when he was preaching, he said, you know, hii SHA haifanyi kazi. And I felt very bad because a person from my village who is also part of his church, we had gone to KU and SHA had paid for them almost 1 million shillings. Actually, it was actually 800,000. So when we finished, I took it upon myself. And I looked for him and I said, I won't have to have a cup of tea. And I said, you know, I was a bit embarrassed because you are the head of the church. When you said SHA was not working, and a person from your own church, from my own village, I had attended the funeral a week before. The family said, before we give any speech, if you're not registered with SHA, please register. Because our brother didn't have money. Our brother had suffered cancer for some time, but they said the medicines, we were in KU referral, the medication, the chemos and everything, SHA took care. And they said this is the amount of money that was paid by SHA. They started with Maragua level 4, then later they went now to KU, they were referred to KU. So I said, as a clergy in the top of the church, when the family is seated there, and you're telling your congregation SHA is not working, and they know it's working, then they'll also start, questioning your leadership. And you are the head of church. You know, he said, no. I went to this specific hospital, a private hospital in Thika, and I had taken my wife, and they said, this SHA is not working, so we were told to pay 20,000. And I wondered, how many Kenyans can afford 20,000? I told him, yes, because they looked at you. That was a hospital. You found a person who is corrupt, who didn't want to wait for the process of SHA to be paid. So they saw you look like you have money. And so the easiest way of them getting cash flow, they told you SHA is not working. And you, because you did not question, you paid the 20,000 and you received the treatment and you went home. So you went home saying what? SHA is not working. Is it SHA that was not working? No. But it was an experience with the person you met. And a lot of, without any bias, a lot of those private hospitals are the ones who are really against SHA because they know what they were doing. But with time when the government could not bow, they now agreed, and now the SHA is slowly. I would say now it's more than 70% functional. And where there are those problems, I think every system, sometimes you have system failures, because even sometimes, I think it was like last week, there's a time I woke up in the morning, the M-Pesa was not working, and you know, sometimes systems fail because they are systems.
All right.
But we cannot just say SHA is not working. For sure, SHA is working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me come to a conversation about unity as we head to 2027. There is a call to divide the region that you come from, and that is the Mount Kenya region, East and West. What does that speak to you when you hear calls for a Mount Kenya East and a Mount Kenya West? Should the mountain be divided or but remain as a unit?
I think it's the most unfortunate conversation that is happening. But I think, as I said, everybody have their rights, and it's democratic world. I think the people from now, I don't even know whether we are East or West. I know, because for me, I don't see the division. We are all from Mount Kenya region. Yeah. But maybe the people who come from the regions of Meru, Tharaka Nithi, Embu, going to, it's actually Meru, Embu and Tharaka Nithi. I might be a bit of Kirinyaga, I don't know whether they are part of that.
They've listed Meru, Embu and
Tharaka
Nithi.
They are feeling that we have been unfair to them.
Have you been unfair, do you think so?
I guess so, because let me give you why I think so. I want to go back to, was it to 202? Not 202, 202 was Uhuru. That was, I think, 1997. When we had Mwai Kibaki and we had Kenneth Matiba. You know, the people from that side really supported Mwai Kibaki 100%. The Kiambu, Muranga, it was Kiambu, Muranga and Nyeri were together supporting Kenneth Matiba. And so the people of Muranga felt like the Nyeri people denied us a chance of Kenneth Matiba becoming the president. We actually became very upset with them because that side really supported Mwai Kibaki. So what are the expectations of those people? That when it comes another time when they need support, Nyeri people should be the first ones to support them. Now come 207, when Kivuitu said he doesn't know who is winning, then there was Tharaka Nithi happened. Tharaka Nithi is the one that gave Kibaki the win. He was actually sworn in. I think he was the first president to be sworn in, and I don't think anyone else will be sworn in at night. Okay? So the Tharaka Nithi again, they feel, when now our son from the Tharaka Nithi has been given the position at a national level, which is the deputy president position, what would we expect? We made Mwai Kibaki to become the president. What would we want from, maybe expect from Nyeri? We would expect the Nyeri people, they are the first one to support our son. It is human. It is natural. But sometimes in politics, things don't happen the same. So that's why I've said I will excuse them for getting upset, but I will tell them, calm down. Things sometimes don't happen the way we expect. And these are different people. It was Mwai Kibaki's time, who was a gentleman. Now we have another man there, I don't know what to call him, who is now at the helm and inciting the Kikuyus against their son, because that's what they feel. Then the same person, the same people from maybe Nyeri, they are the ones who are calling the deputy president names. Kasapurano, you know, trying to show like he has no voice, trying to show like he's not a nobody. So they are saying, when it is at our time of our son, why does he become a nobody? Then when it was your time, as we treated you well, it is human. And so I've said, I will excuse them, but I will tell them, the mountain is still one. Unity is strength. And again, we are even moving, we are now separating. Well, the whole nation is moving towards one Kenya. Our children, they don't know whether they are Kikuyus, whether they are Luos, whether they are Kalenjins, whether they are from they are Somalis. They are intermarrying. I saw another TikTok, a young lady saying, we are happy when we are attending Arusi ya Fatuma na Kinyanjui, na tuko na Halima na Ojwang. Yeah. You see, our children, they really don't care whether they are Kikuyus or whatever. Why do you want to go back to regions? Why do you want to go back now to even now we are going to split the mountain to now almost going to villages? Okay. Because I'm very sure sometimes when you get to Embu, they will tell you, as we are not Meru, we are Embu. And even within Embu, they will tell you, sisi ni kuna Wambere and Waembu. And they don't know. You call Muembu Mumeru, they will tell you I'm not. I'm not. It's the same thing you call Mkirinyaga Mkikuyu, watakwambia I am not a Kikuyu. I'm not. Okay. You understand? So why do we want to go back to uko nyuma?
All right.
I would say, please, and I beg my brothers and sisters who are in leadership, let us forge towards one Kenya, one united nation, and a nation where everybody will be given a chance. If it's the Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki, I give him my 100% support. Kithure Kindiki will not behave like William Ruto the way he was. And especially, that's a mistake we do as leaders. I have worked with William Ruto as a Deputy President for 10 years. I know what kind of a character he was. I know maybe every Tuesday he would call people in his office, people would have lunch. And sometimes he had done, that Tuesday, maybe it was an open door where any MP would walk into his office and have an interaction. And maybe that's how William Ruto, I feel sad when I see people saying, we took William Ruto to Central. He took himself. Uhuru gave him a clean platform. And William Ruto took himself to the churches. He would call me, Sabina, when are we going to your area? If I invited him, I think the first invite I gave him was 2014 when I was doing my Thanksgiving. He came. And I remember my speech, I can look for it. I told him, I guess you have demystified the position of deputy presidency. Because then the former deputy president was who? Kalonzo Musyoka. You could not see Kalonzo anywhere. He was not an easy guy to interact with. A deputy president was almost like a president. He was very far, So William Ruto came, and also the style of even Uhuru Kenyatta, he was, shaking hands, gottering. That was a president that we had not seen before. Remember, we had Mzee Mwai Kibaki, who was very reserved. That even when he was going to his home village, and he was going to his home village in Othaya, he would get into his car from State House. He would not stop anywhere. That was Mwai Kibaki. He would get to Othaya. When he became the president, a few people from the village would come to his gate. Then he would tell them, no, musikuje kuregarega hapa, and then mukalime. And he would retreat to his home, alone, might be a few wazés who are his friends, and come back to Nairobi without even going to a church in Othaya. And if he went, it was not high profile. So Uhuru Kenyatta came different style. So now for Kithure Kindiki, and that's why I said I want to plead with my colleagues who are leaders now. You may have interacted with other deputy presidents. This is Kithure Kindiki. He's different. He will not be William Ruto. He is not going to be Rigathi Gachagua, who was very rough. He is himself. Let's allow him to be and understand him the way he is. But when we start comparing him maybe with William Ruto, how he was, or comparing with other deputy presidents, it will be unfair. Let him be. And every person, the same thing, every person is unique. And I think this is my own analysis, and I would say, having gone now to several meetings where the president has given Kithure Kindiki a chance to articulate government issues, he's the best. And I think William Ruto made a mistake from the word go. He would have just picked Kithure Kindiki 2022, this country would be very far. But when there was already blackmail for him when he was choosing a deputy president.
There was blackmail? There
was a lot of it. And intimidation, and people started demonstrating, if you don't give our son the deputy president, they were organized demonstrations, and we know in Madeira. Before that position was announced. And I was not there because I was in Azimio.
So this is Moshene.
Side. This is Moshene. This is Moshene, and I will tell you, I hear people even walked out with their spouses when they were told they are not the ones to be given. They had to be called back and begged. So there was a lot of blackmail, and I think that blackmail is the one that followed when it came now to the person getting the position. And that's what I've told you. Can I tell you something? When you want to test a character of an individual, for a leader, test that character of that person when they have power, or when they think they have power. Like when the Olkarau win was done. That is when now you know the character of those leaders. You will see how they talk down to people. There's a leader, when you win, you just say, I thank God, you win with humility. When you start belittling, even the ones who you have defeated, now you start abusing and accusing people of goonism. You start accusing people, I don't know, they were sent to be spies. Instead of winning with humility, then that's when you know a true character of a person. The same thing, when a person has money. When a person is poor, they can be anything. But when they have money, then you know the true character of that person. And I think it's good now that the Olkarau happened. Olkarau, I can tell you, is a blessing to this nation. Because Kenyans, and especially people from Mount Kenya region, will know what kind of a character they have been dealing with. They have been incited, but I'm telling you, you will know when somebody has power or think they have power. And when the people have now a position, then you know the true character of a person.
Honorable Sabina, has the mountain really left the head of state to some extent?
I would say the mountain has not fully left, but it's not the same. It is no longer the mountain that saw William Ruto as a darling, the mountain that shouted us down when we were not supporting William Ruto. Is very different now. We have a very incited mountain. We have a mountain that has, I said that is upset. And I think the bigger job or task that William Ruto has now as a president is to, I like the small meetings he's now doing, is just to find out what is this that have made people upset. I can tell you, me, I was shocked with Olkarau because that is not what I expected. But the voting, I was shocked. So apart from the oath and apart from intimidation, what is it that vote was done that way? It's a question and a conversation we need to have as leaders. Number two, William Ruto now has to look at the people who are going to be the face of his campaign, all right? So that the leaders to stop chest thumping, to be humble.
To be humble.
And have a conversation. Allow people to speak out. Allow people to ventilate and say, or vent and say, these are our issues. And also, this is the high time that we now need to have, I almost want to say, maybe constituency level, and have a scorecard. So far, this is what we have managed.
Okay.
This is what is in the pipeline, and this is what is going to happen. And I think with that, people can be able, because like last week I had, there was a meeting in Nyeri, and there were aspirants of a specific political party, and I had a comment that I was told, William Ruto has done nothing for Murang'a. That was a comment that was made.
All right.
I can tell you, I'll not even take Murang'a. I'll give you a drive, get to Thika, take the Kandara Road. That Kandara Road is now being recarpeted, all of it to a place called Kangari. I'm taking you to our home. There were Mau Mau roads that I had stored before. Those Mau Mau roads are now almost done with the tarmac.
All right.
There's the Kangari market is complete now. We had the Kangari dairy was given a 10,000 liter capacity of a cooler. We have now our Kenyona dairy that has 2,000. A truck that was bought for the farmers to carry the milk. The coffee farmers are now smiling and they are very happy with the coffee prices.
Right.
We may not have achieved, or this government may not have achieved 100%. 60 maybe or 70.
Right.
Okay. But of course, not below 50.
No, it's not below 50, so
it's
above
not below
average.
50. For sure, if you are fair, William Ruto is one of the presidents that I have seen, and I will say on my personal experience, very hardworking president. Number two, a president who have reached out to all Kenyans. Because we know sometimes we have been accused, or the other president have been accused of focusing on their own area. I saw, was it Wajir, the government of Wajir, when we had the national celebrations? Was it on 1st June?
Yeah.
When he gave his speech, I was moved to see a grown-up man crying,
Okay.
saying, I never expected my region can host a national event.
Okay.
I never expected we can have such a stadium. I never expected roads can be built in the northern region of
Alright.
Kenya.
Okay.
So let us not look selfish. When we see other regions, then that's why I said my advantage is that I went around the country and I saw how other regions looked like. So William Ruto will remain in record that he's one president who opened up the government for all Kenyans,
Okay.
and brought development in all corners of this country.
All right.
Yes.
I want to wind up. However, which political seat are we going for in 2027?
I'll go for an MP position, most likely. Yes.
Where? Still woman representative?
No.
Or?
At least I know I'm not going for woman representative. No, I'll not go for woman representative position. Reasons being, I have brought up and have mentored many young girls. The current women rep of Murang'a used to work in my foundation. A lot of aspirants who want even that position in Murang'a. One was my PA, another one was my ward manager in one of my constituencies.
Right.
So those are my children.
Okay.
And that woman rep position, for sure, I will not go for it.
So right now you're going
But
for MP?
I will go for an MP position. I will disclose where, and I will disclose when, and I'll also disclose my political party later.
Okay, I was about to ask you about your political party. You just cut me short with that.
Later. At least I have done a summary of it.
All right, nice.
Yeah, but please know I will be God willing, because I believe in God, and God willing, and may God keep us alive, and may God give us a very peaceful election, I'll be on the ballot.
You'll be on the ballot.
Yes.
However, let me just ask you one final question as we wind up. Some people look at Sabina Chege and say, you are nominated by Jubilee. You are now side with the government. Jubilee is not part of government, or whichever happened with that particular political party. And look at you and say, okay, why did you betray the party that nominated you into office?
I did not betray the party. I think we don't have two governments. I was nominated by Jubilee, and we tried to make our party active, and we tried to organize our party, which was also a different opinion from other party members, not elected members, but other, especially the party leadership. We tried to reach out to our political party leader, who is a former president. We could not reach him. We tried to chart our own path. We were not able to. So we decided to work with the government of the day, because at the end of the day, Jubilee government was there. I was in the government. There are things that had been done by the government that I would have wanted to continue and finish. And that's why I told you, like, the Mau Mau Road was started by the Jubilee government. Mine was to pursue and make sure that Mau Mau, which starts from Kiambu County, going all the way, Murang'a County, finishing up at Nyeri County, and that Mau Mau passes through my village. Every other time I've been even on the media, I was being abused.
Right.
The Mau Mau roads have not been done. I have pursued the president. And what something else I've learned. So for the programs, like even the Kangari market that I've told you it's already done, there are many programs that were halfway done or not finished by the Jubilee government. So my justification, one, for working with the government was for those projects to be finished. Number two, I've also learned I will never belittle or abuse anything that I would like to become. I have ambitions that maybe one day, God willing, I might become the president of this nation. So I have an obligation as a human being to respect the authority that is in power now. Does that mean that I cannot tell them where they are going wrong? I will tell them where they are going wrong, but I'll also give my whole support. Because I know even when my time comes, I will need that support.
You will need that support.
Yes.
30 seconds. Should President Ruto run with Deputy President Kithure Kindiki or consider other running mate in the 2027?
I think that is his decision. The president can choose Kithure Kindiki. I have no problem at all. I've said I've seen Kithure Kindiki is the best deputy president. But if he thinks otherwise, we will support him. Yes.
Nominated Member of Parliament and former woman representative for Murang'a County, Honorable Sabina Chege, thank you so much for your time. And of course, like she said, she's going for a Member of Parliament seat. She'll disclose that later. I hope you come and disclose it here. Much appreciated for your time and being part of this conversation here on Politalks. That does it for us here on the program. Do have yourselves a lovely day today. My name, as always, is Brian Amwai.
Our shared experience.
This is not an interrogation. We are looking for some sort of leads.
Please, officer, my parents can't find out.
This thing didn't even happen on campus.
Is she alive?
K24TV. Our shared experience.
Words have power. Hospitali hakuna madawa, yet politician ana tablets anapeleka bibi for a